Welcome back to Watching the Throne on the Late Night Chat Network, episode 49. All right, welcome back, everybody. Jay, welcome back.
Hey, brother. Let's welcome back, bro. Hey, man. Look who we got there.
Yeah, go ahead. Why don't you introduce him?
Kyle, man. Another returning guest, another super freak fan on of Late Night Chats. That's
Yes,
right.
welcome back, Kyle. Thank you for joining us once again. One of the Game of Thrones super fans here that we've lined up that's been nice enough to join us on some of these episodes. And if you missed Kyle's first appearances on, you can go back and check season 4, episode 8 and 10 he joined us on previously. And so welcome back, Kyle. And let us know this is the next episode you kind of had requested after the Oberyn episode, of course, where he unfortunately gets taken out. Yeah. And funny enough, we've actually been really dealing with the fallout of that situation all throughout season 5, as you know. But yeah, let us know why you picked episode 9 here of season 5 specifically, because I know after you had done the last one, this is one that you said you had your eye on as well that you wanted to join us for.
Yeah, thanks for having me back, guys.
Yeah, man.
Easy answer, dragons.
Yeah.
I mean, the whole end of the episode, like even when I was watching it, I was like, why did I pick this again? Because I haven't been totally following season 5 like religiously, but I was like, I know how it ends, and then when I got there, I was like, okay, this is why you picked this episode. Yeah, this is the first time Daenerys rides Drogon, I think.
Yeah,
in the series is this episode.
That's right, and that is why you had told me at the time that you wanted to do this one because of that specifically. It was the first time she actually jumped on his back and actually rode him around here in this episode. I would say there was some really good stuff too that did happen in this episode, but like in terms of like big memorable moments, it is the next episode, the finale, of course, of this season, and maybe even some would argue the episodes prior to this. That being said, though, this was still a really fucking cool episode. Like I stand by the fact you picked this one still. I mean, like, I like the episodes you pick because they may have been smaller moments maybe to some, but like still really good episodes. I mean, I think the Oberyn episode, for instance, like I said, it kind of works along with the fact that you talked with us on that episode, and then we've been dealing with his death all throughout this season, right? In a way, right? With all the Alaria Sand stuff here that's been going on, right? So, but what did you think of this overall, revisiting this, Kyle? Like, do you still stand by this one? You still really enjoyed this? Or maybe the first time that you watched this? So, like you said, obviously the dragon stuff, this was the big moment for you in that sense, right?
Yeah. I mean, rewatching it, I was like, wow, there was a couple piece of shit characters that were still alive in the timeline at this point. I'm just like, oh yeah, okay, I remember where we're at now. And next episode you definitely get a couple juicy reveals.
Yes.
And
he hasn't seen it yet, just so you know. I believe he has not watched it yet. So yeah, just so
all right. I won't reveal nothing, but yeah, you're in for a good episode, that's for sure.
Yes.
Well, I figured, and once I seen the title, so I figured it'd be something interesting.
So. Well, it always is on Game of Thrones, right?
Yeah.
Especially when you're in the later episodes of a season.
Yeah, absolutely. No, so yeah, I forgot, I failed to mention at the start, this is kind of our Game of Thrones like overview review kind of show where we kind of we're going episode by episode, guys. We sometimes have guests on like Kyle here today with us, and mostly representing kind of the super fan of the group here as we bring people on, like the people usually that are more knowledgeable or have seen the show way more than us. We've been bringing on as guests lately in that sense, because this is my first time ever rewatching the show past the first time that it aired on TV. And JT, this is the first time he's ever seen the show. So there's a lot of this is new to JT. JT's been it's been nice to see his reactions throughout, and we've been trying not to spoil things for him. And I should mention on the next episode, episode 10, the finale of this season, the only episode that this guest actually had requested, right when we announced that we were going to do this show, she had put her name down for this, the episode, the finale, the next one. And that's Leslie, one of our co-hosts over on Late Night Chat here on the Late Night Chat Network, will be joining us for episode 10, the finale. So make sure to tune in for that, guys. But Jay, what did you think of this episode? Because I think you had some comments prior to us recording here. You feel like it didn't rise to the occasion. You're you're trying to figure out why Kyle picked this one. You didn't like this one. What's the deal?
I mean, the fucking dancing with the dragons. Like, come on, dude. Like, if it was, killing all the rest of the people with the dragons, yeah, or riding the dragon, giddy up. But I mean, really, I didn't see no dancing.
I'm sorry. Did you not like all that shit that happened in House of the Dragons where everyone's flying?
Yeah,
around?
I was gonna say that.
Yeah, there's been a lot more flying. It looked a lot more realistic on fire.
There's a lot more money and a lot better graphics now. That's why. Yeah, that's exactly why. But if I remember correctly, you wouldn't shut up about all the fucking dragon flying in House of the Dragon. So like, I think.
Well, you know what? Daenerys should have took her.
Yeah.
No, she should have took her shirt off and just went flying on the dragon. It would have made it so much better, guys.
Well, listen, I would have been against that. I'm just, but like, you know the deal now. She's too big of a character. You refuse.
Got a penis now.
She refused to get
whip it out to show how big it is.
I believe at the time, I remember that happening. I think she had refused. I think she didn't want to for her character anymore, because I think also like the characters looked at differently at this point in the series. She can't be naked every other scene, right? Like, I mean, I
mean, she could.
Yeah, she could, but I mean,
okay, season 6, episode 5, I think.
You see a half. Yeah. Nice.
Although Kyle, I heard some of those were not like body doubles for her. I
don't know, because when it first came out, I was surprised too, because I was like, oh, she stopped doing this for a bit.
Yeah,
and I think I read that it was actually her.
Okay,
she actually.
There's a body double
statement
for
about
somebody else.
Which I think is, I think it's coming up. So like, yeah, I believe I had heard that. So I think we'll have to get into that. But yeah, there has been, from what I remember, body doubles in this show in terms of like, or whatever you call it, like stand-ins essentially for some of the nude scenes, right? Because, everyone's comfortable with that. Like, I get that. I mean, like, and obviously, as
I don't think I'd be comfortable either.
Yeah, fucking JT fucking Weinstein over here. Calm down, bud. All right. Like, get naked. What the hell is this? I didn't sign up for this shit.
I'd be yelling that if I was a director on set. Yeah, what the hell? Like, come on. Naked, everybody, naked.
Yeah, exactly. You're the woman's like, why am I nude in this scene? Listen, it just makes sense, okay? Okay, anyways, but moving along. I for one, I liked this episode, man. I thought this was a pretty solid episode because, again, like, I know where this is leading. Yeah. I did watch the 10th episode. I went ahead and watched it, which we'll be recording soon. But yeah, I thought this was a solid episode. Like, I get why Kyle, like, that, you could see the way it leads up and ends at the end. That was a big kind of like fist pump fucking moment at the end of this episode, man. It really was. Like, I remember the first time seeing this because, she's getting reunited with Drogon here, right? I think that's that dragon, right? That she jumps on at the end. Yeah. He's fucked off this whole time, and then he comes back, and there's like this whole kind of triumphant kind of, thing at the end.
To each other's eyes.
Yeah, honestly, it was a good moment, and there's some other good stuff in here too. But let's get into it without further ado.
Yeah, don't forget about the Stannis stuff and all that. That took me for a loop.
If anything, that's the bigger shock of this episode. Yeah, absolutely. So, for sure. And I knew that was coming up, and I've been biting my fucking tongue on that one this season too. Believe me, because there's some moments where. Yeah, we'll get into it here. There's some moments though, like prior to this, where Stannis, they even go out of their way to show you like a nice moment between Stannis and Shireen, just to throw this.
Fucking throw it in your face. Yeah, they did it right beforehand too. Like,
that's seriously. Right. You're my daughter, and then she's like, just like burn this through this, like what's wrong?
My gosh, man,
so it hits close to home. It's terrible. Yeah. That's anyways. Let's get into it.
Let's do it.
All right, so we're gonna talk about Dance of the Dragons here, Game of Thrones season 5, episode 9 here today. Make sure to like and subscribe as always. And Kyle, thanks again for joining us. Let's get into it here. So during the night at Stannis Baratheon's army camp, Melisandre gazes intently into the flames of her tents. hoping to receive visions from the Lord of Light. In the distance, several tents burst into flames, sending confused men shouting, and one horse screams as he runs away on fire. During the night, the follow-up here to Jay's kind of prediction of he was interested to see what happened with Ramsay only asking for 20 fucking men previous episode. Ramsay Bolton and 20 men raided the camp, burning much of their food, supplies, and heavy siege weapons. Hundreds of horses also died in the fire. Davos notes that their situation is now dire. They don't have enough food to make the march back to Castle Black or to advance to Winterfell. And without their siege weapons, they have little chance of storming the castle to take its food supplies anyway. Stannis asks how this could happen, and Davos insists that the Boltons know the Norse terrain better than they do, so it was easy for a raiding party to sneak into the camp. Stannis suggests that the Watchmen were either collaborating with the enemy or simply not attentive enough at their post to allow such a disaster. Either way, he orders them to be executed. Stannis says to slaughter the dead horses for their meat, which should at least buy them a little time. Yeah, so this is pretty
yummy.
Pretty dire situation here at the start all of a sudden, eh? Like, man,
I didn't get that about Ramsay first, but then when he said 20 men, and then when he said 20 men attacked us in the night, it threw me right. That's where it brought me back. That's just because I had to watch this started a second time because I wanted to get a little bit of it so I can get some of the notes down good, right? I wanted to enjoy it first while I watched it, and then write notes, right? Because it's a little easier that way. I found, but yeah, I didn't catch it until the second time when I started writing it down, right? About the 20 men. And I was like, that fucker, eh?
Yeah, well, I remember
quick, like how quick.
I remember when we did the last episode, you were like, oh, I'm very interested to see what he does because like he was the one that turned to Roose there last episode. And you're kind of like, what the fuck? This guy's crazy. I remember you were like 20 men. You're like, what the hell is this guy going to do? I mean, he kind of pulled off a very tactical move on this part. Like, it's funny how like, I feel like even at the start of this season, Stannis was in way better standing than he is at this point. Like he is like, you know, like dire straits here. Like, you know what I mean? Like he's very weak at this point, his army, right? Like it's just funny to see how far he's come of, you know, he's taken already a defeat. What was it? The whatever that one was, Blackwater. Yeah. He's taken a defeat there. And, you know, he went and kind of like, tried to like get all those pirates and everything else with Davos's people there, like going and trying to help him out. And he's had a few bumps in the road, obviously against the North. And now we kind of see him. He's like a former shell of himself at this point. Like they don't even have enough food and or supplies to kind of like make a good attack at this point. Right. So I don't know. Stannis, where are you on Stannis, Kyle? Are you a fan of this character or?
Never was.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know. He just never did it for me. And then, I mean, the lead up to what he does later in the episode, it was just like, you know, like you said earlier, they make him with a nice moment where it's like, you know, oh, look at him, he's being a good dad. And you're like, oh, what the fuck's coming next? Because, you know, no one's good and genuine in this show without an ulterior motive. And then,
that's right.
You know, it lights are on fire and you're just like, God damn, man. I know you want the throne, but like, what's it worth to you? If you
I know. Nothing? Well, that's the thing. At what cost, right? Yeah, I know, absolutely. And we see that. Like I think Jay's catching on to that now. Jay questions everybody's fucking motives now. Whenever they show something good about a person, he's like, oh fuck, something's gonna happen to this person.
Oh, it's true, man. As soon as they start,
that's why Ramsay's still alive.
You know, yeah. As soon as extra attention's paid to somebody, you're just like, oh, they're gonna get it. You know, you gotta hope their name ends in Stark or Lannister or something, because you know if it's a new character, you're just like, oh fuck, here's my soul about to get ripped out.
Yeah, like honestly, like thinking of it now, like after what we've seen of the Baratheon kind of family in this show, they have just not had a good run of things in this show. I mean, Robert got taken out like right away in a fucking during that hunting expedition.
Yeah,
right. You know, we've seen the other brother,
Renly.
Renly. By Stannis, by the spirit, right? And now Stannis is not looking so hot, right? So this is, they actually haven't done that good of a job, I gotta say. Yeah, in retrospect, they haven't really. No. The Baratheons are kind of is there any other big Baratheons alive at this point? Like, obviously, other than the people that are like represented here, or maybe
not without revealing spoilers.
Fair enough. Yeah, that's true. Okay.
wait. I thought I heard there was I thought there was another one. I thought they said it in a talk between two people Yeah, I don't remember if it was in this one. I'll if it pops to me, I'll remember.
Yeah. All right. And then next up, we got here Jon Snow, Tormund, and the surviving few thousand wildlings from Hardhome after the events of last episode arrive at the wall before the gates of Castle Black. For a tense moment, Sir Alistair Thorne hesitates to let all of their old enemies through, but finally he gives the order to open the gate. That was a tense moment. We weren't, I mean,
Yeah,
like,
that was.
yeah, like you weren't sure. Like even John was just like, "Fuck!" Like he's like,
Yeah.
"Are these guys gonna let me
Thank
in?" Like,
God. He closed his eyes like, yes, okay, thank God, man. I didn't know if they were gonna say yes or not.
I mean, after what we just experienced at the end of last episode with him against the undead army there, a huge loss to the wildlings, right? And Thens and all them, they kind of got really fucked up there. For a tense moment, already said that thousands of wildlings come through the wall to Castle Black itself, including many women and children. And even the giant, is it 1-1 or Woon? I don't know, 1-1, the giant. Many men of the Night's Watch glare at them. Alistair tells John that he has a good heart to save so many people, but that it may end up getting them all killed. John reunites with Sam, but is despondent, saying that the mission was a disaster and they only managed to save a small fraction of the wildlings at Hardhome. Sam points to different wildlings passing by and notes that each of them would have died if he had done nothing at all, so it wasn't a complete failure. Is this the scene that he talks about how he hooked up and got some too, or is that later on? I can't remember. Is
I think
that
that's later on.
I didn't
later?
hear about
Okay,
it.
I know that's discussed between them at some point. And if it's this episode at all, but
I
it
don't think it is.
might be next episode. But yeah, he does reveal that okay. That's not a big spoiler. He does reveal to John at some point that he finally he's not a virgin.
Got laid. I was gonna figure. I figured that much out. Yeah.
But okay, I jumped the gun on that. Stannis' demeanor becomes grave and half stunned as he believes there is only one course of action to take. He starts by ordering Davos to return to Castle Black to ask for more supplies from Jon Snow. Davos is confused, given that even if Jon did decide to resupply them, the provisions probably wouldn't reach them in time, and wonders why Stannis would send him instead of just a messenger. He insists that it is
Figure
because
out why.
he needs his hand of the king to engage in diplomacy to win Jon over, but in reality, Stannis sends Davos away so he wouldn't be around to stop what Stannis is planning on doing next.
A prick. Sorry.
Fucked up.
These
Okay. Yeah. I mean, so I posed this question to Jay last couple episodes there, Kyle, because of the events of that just have transpired with what's his name, Ramsay raping Sansa
Boy.
constantly now. Okay, which I thought was one of the darker fucking scenes that have happened in the shows up to this point, right?
Yeah,
Now-
definitely.
So Jay was kind of hesitant to say that he thought maybe that was the worst thing that's happened on this show. He didn't really have a definitive answer for me at the time. Is what happens here with Stannis the worst piece of shit move that's been done on the show here, Jay and Kyle? Do you guys think so far? Would you say this was the worst thing that anybody's done so far on this show? I think it's
okay.
running. The raping thing's pretty bad, but this is pretty fucking bad, man. This is terrible.
Okay. But I mean, okay, they're doing it for a sacrifice, right? Like a ritual. I mean, Ramsay was just raping her because he was raping her, so it's a little bit different of a purpose. Like,
Don't defend rape, okay?
no, I'm not defending it. No, I'm saying that he did it out of sheer, like, you know.
Yeah, I
No,
know.
he Ramsay did it out of sheer just because he was fucking fucked up in the head. He's a fucking sick bastard, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Stannis did it because he fell victim to the fucking
Greed.
pussy, Melisandre.
No, it's greed for the
And the
throne. It's
yeah,
greed.
it was, but everybody's got greed for the throne.
Yeah, but
Yeah,
not like
I
that.
don't know, man.
This is
Cersei's
a
done
bridge
some
too
pretty
far.
Fucking despicable things. I don't see her taking one of her kids and lighting them on fire.
Yeah. So
Well-
Kyle, would you say this is the most fucked up thing happened so far in the show, possibly? Or
To date, yeah, like just one of the blindside out of nowhere moves. I definitely put this up there.
Yeah,
I mean,
I agree. This is for me.
tossing Bran out the window is pretty bad considering how little he was at the time. You know,
Yes.
that wasn't like,
Yes.
you know, compared
Where
to
he
some of
fell.
the
I just
glorious
thought he
stuff
fell
they've
in a
done.
sense. Yeah.
Yeah.
Not that bad, but yeah, this is definitely
Yeah.
up there, especially with Shireen. I mean, they make you like her. You know, she's such a
Yeah.
good-hearted person, and
I
then it's just
know.
fucking boom, flames.
Well, that's what I mean. I felt like that too when that scene before with Davos and Shireen happened, and
we're
you know he
getting
went to talk to her.
Yeah, we'll
Yeah.
get to that. They obviously played it up extra there, right? Yeah. Here
Yeah.
it is right here. Davos visits the tent of Stannis'
Mhm.
daughter, Shireen, to say goodbye. She is enjoying reading a book by Grand Maester Munkun about the dance of the dragons, a major civil war in the history of the Seven Kingdoms. They share a laugh about how a knight tried to kill the dragon Vagar by sneaking up on it with a mirrored shield, but it didn't fool the dragon, who promptly rose to the knight. Davos gives her a wooden stag figurine he has been carving as a present. She asks why he has been so nice to her, and he explains that he felt bad that his son Mathos always insisted that his father learn to read, and he never did. He died in the war, and by teaching Davos to read, Shireen helped him fulfill his son's wish. This was a sweet moment, to your point, Jay. Yeah, it was a nice moment, obviously, because again, they're setting you up. Davos, I think, was always, her best, what I mean, like the best friend there. Obviously, I think he even treated her better than her parents, quite frankly, right? I got to say though, a thing I made note of for this is like how the mother has been kind of treating her like shit all the way up to this point, but then she's the one that fucking can't take what happens at the end when Stannis's mind is so diluted. Like, you know what I mean? Like, he's so far gone that he's okay with it at that point, yet he's the one that kind of defended her and had that whole speech about, oh, you're my daughter and blah, 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 blah. Yeah. So again, they just kind of flipped it on us. Like that was the only thing I don't know if rang true for me, because it seemed like the mother always fucking didn't like her, and she's like, hide her away and everything else. And Stannis was always the one that defend her. And then yet he, at the end of the day, obviously she was not even ready to burn her own fucking daughter.
Yeah. You think it was more like the perception too of how she comes off as a mother to the people around her there, like, because she didn't yell and freak out at first.
She was pretty cold to her, honestly, in all the scenes, I feel like, up to this point.
No, yeah. But I mean, when she until she started screaming and that, then fucking they didn't really, the mother didn't really, that was too much when you started calling out for her first, right? I think mentally gets to you.
Yeah, because I think his wife was even down with it at first. Like, she kind of was just like, yeah, it has to happen. Like, she was with Melisandre when they discussed it, right? But then, like, obviously seeing your daughter in that situation and guess the reality of it and her burning, like you said, it just was too much for her, right? Which is also, it's just like the way she reacted in that scene, like she was, Stannis held it together much better than she did in the moment, I feel like, right? Even though he was kind of disgusted with himself too, right? He kind of acted it. What'd you think of all this, Kyle?
It was kind of nice to see her turn into a mother at the very end. I mean, well, too little, too late. But it was just, she treated Shireen like shit every season, and Stannis was always the one sticking up for her, telling her to leave her alone. Sometimes, shutting her down altogether, and then to be like, light her up. It's just like, where the.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, that's why it plays against our expectations, and I guess that's a good thing. But in the same sense, it doesn't necessarily track when you kind of put it that way, because you're like, is this actually like this character or not, right? But I can believe people in that moment can change, right? Like, you know what I mean? Obviously, he came to a crossroads where he was prepared to do something about it, and I guess she wasn't, in terms of the reality of it, right? At the end of the day, right? So I guess that that makes sense, I guess. But yeah, I didn't understand, like, I felt like, she didn't care about her, yet she was the one that struggled with that at the end, right? So yeah, anyways. Jaime Lannister is escorted into the main apartments of the Water Gardens by Areo Hota to be received by Prince Doran Martell in a luxurious kind of room, along with Ellaria Sand, Doran's son, Tristan Martell, and Jaime's niece, Myrcella Baratheon. They lounge on a circle of couches, Myrcella cuddling with Tristan. Jaime notes that Myrcella is wearing a revealing Dornish-style dress now, and she says that the warm climate of Dorne agrees with her. Coming to the point, Doran asks Jaime why he has snuck into Dorne to abduct Myrcella back to King's Landing. He says he feared for her safety, but then Doran insists why he didn't just send a letter by messenger Raven. He explains that they received a threatening message, Myrcella's Lannister's lion pendant jammed in the mouth of a dead viper. Doran glares at Ellaria while a confused Myrcella explains that her pendant was simply stolen from her room. So, Kyle, you haven't really been on this season with us after the events of the Oberyn Martell stuff there. What do you think of all this? Do you like the Sand Snake characters that were just introduced a couple episodes earlier prior to this, or Laria? Do you like all this stuff in Dorne, or what?
Not at all, man. Like, Oberyn, loved the character, loved everything about him, and then just what they do in the aftermath of him, I'm just like, oh man, like,
I like the sand snake. I like those girls personally, but yeah, you're not a fan.
No, not a fan. Like even his wife or whatever. Like I liked her last season, and then some of her decisions this season. I'm just like,
yeah,
like you were there. You know what I mean? Like the other
Yeah.
ones can be hysterical and be like, I want to avenge my father and shit. And like you saw him drinking wine, and you saw him fucking flapping his gums and not just stabbing the shit out of the mountain when he had the chance. And then you're the one that's orchestrating all this. And
yeah, I will say that's kind of ridiculous though, because like I think the brother actually called it from day one. He's like, listen, he's the one that fucking put himself in that situation. Why are we gonna punish these people? Like, yeah, it sucks. Yeah, they probably did wrong by them in the past. From what Oberyn was saying.
Yep.
But listen, he put his life on the line in order to defend his dead sister at that moment. So that's that vengeance, that revenge ends with him, as far as I'm concerned, right? Like, what can you do at this point? Like, he's the one that fucking put himself in that duel to the death, right? I think his brother actually is a very sensible person. Oberyn's brother. He's kind of
me too. I liked him. I was like, you're making sense. You don't want to go to war over nothing. Well, not over nothing, but like over a choice your brother made. He wasn't like murdered, like she was saying. Like, no, he picked a fight. He lost. It sucks. You move on. And
yeah, no, you would always feel
fucking.
You would feel away. You would feel away. I don't blame Ellaria for hating them, but again, there's not like she goes a little too far with all this. I feel. Jay, you were making faces. Do you disagree with that, or you feel otherwise, or what?
No, I don't know. I don't know if I'm a big fan yet. I don't know. I don't know if I like the brother 100% yet. I don't know what is. I know what he's saying. I mean, I would like to say I'd stick up for my brother, but I don't know if I would. At the end of the day, he made his own choices.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
That's all I'm saying. I mean, it
is true. Like.
It's a warrior.
But I don't know if I haven't really understood him as much. Like we haven't seen that much of that character. We've seen him a couple times since then, right? Like, but other than that, until this episode, until he actually speaks out like that and whatever, we don't really know, right? So I wasn't I just thought he didn't want to fight because this is his brother, like any older brother, like any brother would, fuck him, he dies. My turn now, right? So I don't know, or like you said, they're just that type of people too, man. They don't want to put themselves in danger, and unnecessary danger. They don't have to. They live in a good life over there.
I just think it's funny that like the one person that actually comes through with a sensible course of action and reasoning on this show, because it's this show, everyone's questioning it. Well, I don't know. You know what I mean? Like, like, no, this guy is the only fucking guy here that knows what he's talking about. He doesn't want to start a whole fucking mess of shit. Like, he's right in what he's saying, and everyone's questioning it, right? Just like,
but I mean, didn't that end not so good for Ned? Like, really, man, he didn't want to start nothing, and he wanted to just be sensible. What's gonna happen with this guy? They're gonna cut off his legs?
Well,
I mean, it's not like it would do anything, but
Ned was too good for this show. He would never have survived. He was also in King's Landing, right? He's running the show with this guy, right? So it's a different right? He's calling the shots, right? So anyways, Jaime asks if Doran intends to behead him, but acting more sympathetic now that Jaime revealed he was threatened first, he says that he will not because he wishes to avoid war. He has seen what war can do, bodies piled on the battlefield and orphans left starving in cities at home, and he will not lead his people into that. Ellaria bluntly asks what he will do, break bread with the Lannisters. However, he says that is precisely what he will do, as wine is poured for Jaime, and he raises his own goblet and offers a toast to King Tommen. First of his name, long may he reign. Jaime returns the toast, but Ellaria deliberately pours out her wine onto the floor in disgust. Yeah, like she's really pushing this. She's really pushing it. You know what I mean? Like she's like directly disobeying his, you know what I mean? Like, throwing it back in his face that she doesn't agree with, his decision making here, right? Not once, not twice, but thrice, as he says. I'm telling you, this guy. I'm telling you, she like how many times has he warned her? So, anyways, Doran asks if Tommen indeed commands that his sister be returned to the capital, and Jaime politely says he does, to which Doran says he cannot disobey his king. Myrcella will return to King's Landing. She is upset for a moment, but then explains his solution. His son Tristan, is it Tristan or Tristane, will go along with them. Is it Tristane or Tristan?
Tristane.
Tristane, right? Yeah. Will go along with them to take over the seat on the small council, which Tywin granted to Oberyn last season, but which was vacated by his death. Doran insists that for the alliance between the Iron Throne and Doran to continue, the engagement of Trystane and Myrcella must stand, and Trystane will simply take his uncle Oberyn's place on the small council. Jaime finds Doran's request entirely reasonable, and Myrcella is ecstatic that she will not be separated from Trystane, so Jaime agrees. Ellaria gets up to leave and snaps that it is no wonder that Doran cannot stand because he has no spine. As she walks out, he grabs her, her by the arm. That was a fucking sick burn.
It was, yeah.
Yeah, because they do it. It's like an old school, like the way that he said it. The way she said it. It's like, yeah, you got that's like an old sort of like insult, you know, like you wouldn't use it nowadays, right?
Well, I mean, he's crippled, yeah. So yeah, I mean, but yeah, sick burn though, right? I mean, like this guy doesn't flinch though, right? He's just like, as she walks out, he grabs her by the arm and lowers his voice, saying that she is the mother of 4 of his nieces, and for their sake, he hopes that she has a long and happy life. But if she talks to him that way again, she will not. Jaime then asks what fate will befall Bronn, who is still in prison. Bronn punched out Trystane when he tried to take Myrcella, and Jaime is asked what the normal punishment is for striking a prince where he is from. He politely insists that Bronn was only following orders and that they can't punish him for simply following Jaime's commands. Trystane agrees, saying he has learned the value of mercy from his father, but he has one condition. What did you think about that, Jay, when they set that up? Were you really worried for Bronn in that moment, or what?
I kind of felt it. I didn't know I didn't know what the one condition was, but I couldn't see it being anything bad. You haven't sort of led it any way, or neither has this thing to sort of lead it any way where Bronn is actually. I mean, they teased us last episode where we thought he was gonna die, you know, something, but I don't think he's going anywhere for a bit.
Yeah, with the poison, that's right. Bronn, top 5 character for you? For either of you guys? I think so for me. I think
he's funny.
At least number 5. I mean, he's got to round out my top 5, I think. I love Bronn.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, he's always got, I mean, he has great scenes with 2 other characters I like, with Jaime and then like with Tyrion previously. So like, I don't know. I think he's got some of the best dialogue, honestly, on the show. Like you said, he's funny, but he can also hold his own. Like, you know what I mean? Like, he's smart. He's making his way through the world. He's now a fucking, isn't he like a lord now or something of his own place, right?
He's a lord. He's a knight.
Yeah.
So even in this scene, he's like, I didn't know there was any knights in the Blackwaters. Only the one.
Just the one. Yeah.
That's all right.
And then I think it was season 3 after they made him a knight. They've made a joke where they're like, "Oh, you're just a sellsword or something like that." He's like, "Yeah, funny thing, you know, you kill enough people around here, they make you a knight."
That's right. Yeah, yeah. So I just think, like, honestly, like one of the smarter, more cunning characters out of everyone on the show, and he always seems kind of to get by, and he seems to be on most people, like, you know, okay, like, you know what I mean, like with most folks, like like, but he can also hold his own. Like, that's what I respect too. Like, he's been in some, you know, he's been, I mean, when they first came to this to Dorne, he had to throw down with Jaime, right? You know, he's the one that taught him how to kind of fight again with one arm. I like Bronn a lot. I think he's in my top 5 for sure.
Well, top 5, dead or alive, bro. That's the difference.
We'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, at the end of the series, we should do that, like a top 5 dead and a top 5 alive, because there's a lot that.
Remember that. Yeah, top 5 dead or alive. Okay, I'll write that down. Actually, that's a good idea. I like that, because we'll have to say overall or dead or alive at the end of the series. Yeah, I like that. All right. So right now, top 5, he's in there for sure for me. I'm glad you guys agree. So in the prison cells, Nymeria and Tyene Sand spar out of boredom as Obara tries to ignore them and get some sleep. The guards arrive and release Bronn, and Tyene mocks him as he leaves. Areo leads Bronn back to the room where Doran, Jaime, and the rest remain. He apologizes to Trystane when he sees him and says he didn't mean anything by hitting him before. Jaime then gladly informs Bronn that the Martells agreed to let Bronn go with Jaime, but on one condition. Wordlessly, Areo then delivers it by striking Bronn in the face with his elbow so hard that Bronn is knocked to the floor as a payback for hitting Trystane. And it's a great line here where they're like, "Oh yeah, maybe I'll get something to eat," or get. And he's like, "Yeah, maybe some soup after
maybe
he gets
some soup when he's on the floor." Yeah.
Yeah. Well, when he enters the room, he's like, "Oh, pie looks nice."
Yeah. Maybe he prefers some soup after he fucking.
Yeah.
No.
Hey,
Yeah,
do you remember playing? Does anybody remember trying to play that hand slap game? But they were doing it this way, right?
Yeah.
But I remember doing it when like up like this.
You had to pull your fucking hands. Yeah, they had to,
Yeah.
yeah, I remember that game. Yeah.
I don't know why we did that, but I mean, there you go. This is it's an old game, and they had nothing else to do.
Who knows, man? Like I was actually saying today, I actually have a friend whose birthday is tomorrow, and I joked around with him like, "Oh, when I see you, you're gonna get the birthday beats." Remember that when you were younger? Did you ever do birthday beats in school? It was the fucking worst. It was
As a grown man, it doesn't sound great, but I mean,
it was your birthday. You just didn't even want people to know. Your fucking arms were like red after, right? People would just come up.
yeah, in school, man, yeah.
Right? Yeah, man, I remember that. That was the worst. I remember, but it would be good when it wasn't your birthday. You can punch the other person, right? All right.
Man.
But you guys liked this setup though for him getting smacked in the face. This was a pretty good scene, I thought.
Yeah, I thought so too.
Small price to pay, right?
Yeah. Well, the scenes, I noticed too, as the series goes on, the scenes are having they're throwing a little bit of jokes to make you laugh too, as well. Like in a sense, like to keep you smiling, but still, excited and shocked and disgust and everything at once, man. It's got a lot of fucking your head goes through a lot of fucking different emotions watching this show. I didn't think it'd be like that. I'll be honest with you. I didn't think it was gonna be this more like I know it was gonna be a drama of some sort, but I didn't think it was gonna be a drama and then have some funniness to it. And I thought it was all gonna be serious. But you do have some as the series was progressing.
Thank God.
Probably the writing is getting better.
Need some levity in these situations, though, man.
You do though, but man, yeah. Because there's just like long cold nights and long fucking walks to another city.
Otherwise, this would be the most depressing show of all fucking time, right? If it didn't have some jokes. I would actually argue House of the Dragons has like barely any fucking jokes compared to Game of Thrones. If I'm remembering correctly, I didn't find that season all too funny because it was like very tense. I felt like throughout with the situation, right? And they kind of had to they were moving the story forward so much that they had so much I feel like they had to cover in that season that they really didn't have
just throw a joke.
Yeah, I think there was a couple of funny
one-liner,
but not to the degree that Game of Thrones. There's not really many funny characters in House of the Dragons compared to Game of Thrones, right? So, if any, I don't remember.
That's older times too. Maybe they didn't joke back then.
So Arya in her Lana persona here is the next scene.
There's clams and cockles. I love that fucking line, bro. I don't know why. That's like my favorite line of the series so far.
It's once again pushing her cart through the canal streets of Bravo, selling various types of shellfish. She passes the Thin Man who sells insurance to sailors, having been given a mission by the Faceless Man to assassinate him with poisoned oysters. Just as she reaches him, however, she stops in her tracks and stares at a boat on the dock, which has caught her full attention. Stepping out of the boat is Master of Coin Mace Tyrell, and the commander of his guards is none other than Sir Meryn Trant of the Kingsguard, one of the names on Arya's kill list, which she recites as a daily prayer. Meryn helped betray her father and killed her water dancing trainer, Syrio Forel. So this is kind of going way back for anybody who doesn't remember that. Mace was sent by Cersei Lannister to treat with the Iron Bank of Braavos, which has started calling in the crown's massive debts and at least try to gain a little more time to deal with the problem from the bankers. Mace is greeted at the dock by the bank's representative, Ticho Nestoris. Mace addresses him politely, though he doesn't realize that his jokes aren't really funny. All the while, Arya remains frozen and staring at Sir Meryn, ignoring the Thin Man's request for summer for oysters. Question, I have a as Jay likes to say, question, as he kind of states it instead of just asking the fucking question all the time. What was the unexplained? This is kind of an unexplainable kind of unanswerable question here. But where is she finding the time to get all these fucking oysters, cockles, and mussels there, Jay? Where is she just getting all these things? She's just a master fisherman all of a sudden? Where
she produces them, maybe. They fall out of her vagina now. I don't know.
How dare you? She's underage in this scene. How dare you?
Real though, in real life, no, is she? But no, I think that they're part of that whole thing in her head. I don't know. I think once she starts doing it, because I don't know how this is working out. How she's going from one place to another so quick and looking so from
storylines. It's one of the weirder storylines.
I don't know how she's being a fucking basically almost like a fucking nun or something in one section to having braids in her hair at a you know, inside a brothel.
That's the whole thing that she's training for, right? Kyle, what do you like this storyline with the faceless men's shit? Do you like this one or what? Are you a fan of this?
Yeah, the theory of it was really cool. You know, I would have liked to have seen her use this talent a little more.
Yeah.
Definitely a cool concept and whatnot, but
I agree. I don't mind it.
That's what I feel. I feel like she's switching it just to a body that she's got parked somewhere on the side. Like her mind is going there, and like I don't know what the storyline 100% is at this time.
Yeah.
Right. It's just slowly getting into it. I know the millions, the bunch of faces or whatever we call it, but many faces. But I just don't know how that works. You know, like
yeah. I mean, I think it's safe to say, I mean, without trying to spoil anything for you, you are still left with some questions, I feel, at least from what I recall about this whole storyline, but they do explain more as it goes on. Yeah, but I don't think, I don't know. I think it's one of the things I was unsatisfied with the first time around, if I can remember correctly. I don't know if it ended the way I wanted to, that storyline specifically, but
do any of you guys like feel like right now up to this point it's sort of her story is being shadowed by kind of everything else that's going on, in a sense, like because there's a lot of stuff going, like action wise and things going on otherwise. Yeah, it's overshadowed in a sense.
No, I don't think so. We haven't even seen fucking Brand isn't even in the season at all, right? I mean, if anything.
Well, yeah, but I mean, I've already tend to forget about that guy already. It was never.
And I didn't like that storyline, so for me, I'm like, I don't fucking care. But like, is it overshadowed by everything else? I mean, yeah, in comparison, yes, I think it's probably the least.
Because everything seems exciting everywhere else that's happening.
I still think this is I think it's good it's good beside everything else because it's different than everything else. I think that's what I would say to that. I don't think it's a bad storyline, but it is very different than everything else. You're right. Everything else I think matters more in the grand scheme of things.
Yeah, I'm not saying it's bad. It's just like this is almost taking a little longer to progress the storyline to get to that. That peak where, you know, you're almost at that peak. They kind of brought you there and then they kind of said, okay, hold on, we'll keep you on this level for a bit and then we'll bring you up here and then drop you off. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So we'll see more on that. Arya abandons her mission to assassinate the Thin Man and instead follows Sir Meryn as he accompanies Mace. After visiting the Iron Bank building, where fucking Tyrell there sings annoyingly, Meryn and a few other Lannister guards depart from Mace at night and go to visit a local brothel. Arya sneaks to the brothel under the guise of simply selling her oysters. You know, at first he doesn't want her in at first, but the prostitute, who is one of Arya's regular customers, tells him to let her stay, as oysters are held to be an aphrodisiac. Arya sells a few and then makes her way to the back where she spies on Meryn. And basically in this scene, you see him kind of ask for younger and younger girls to basically be sent to him in this scene as he kind of refuses each one, although each one that's brought to him looks extremely fucking young. And then it gets to a point where it's like there's a girl who's like fucking very, very young. And he's just like, yeah, good. This is what
I even wrote. Like, what the fuck? How young is he going, man? This is getting disgusting now. Yeah. Like, I mean, we already know they're like 13 when they get married, right? But I mean, like, this is now, if it's not young enough, these guys are talking younger than that. So it's kind of disgusting.
It is.
And actually, she's the top paid. She makes the most money. Think of that one.
Yeah, well, to your point, she brings out her best and most expensive prostitute, a beautiful young woman named Anera, but Meryn again dismisses her as too old. The madam slowly realizes that Meryn is perversely interested in young girls who are barely teenagers around Arya's age. So she brings out a very young girl who he accepts gruffly, bluntly saying that he expects another fresh one tomorrow. Fucking disgusting. After he leaves the madam, runs into Arya and shoots her out. Yeah, this was dark. Yeah, this is.
Yeah, and what's his name again? That guy,
Meryn.
Yeah, is that who it is? The one that she was watching there, right? And he's at the So, that was probably one of the things that made me cringe the most in this series so far. I don't know why, because it put it in your head, right? Like what's going on there. Like I know there's been, you know, I mean, like I said, young teenagers getting married and stuff like that, and whatever, right? But this was for the wrong purpose.
Not only
She
that,
was
just the
well.
fashion that he kind of did it in, where like all
Yeah.
these fucking young girls are getting whisked in just because he's asking for it. And it's not like they batted an eye. Like there was a little bit of hesitance to see that like for a second. And she's like, no, I got what you need. And she's like, hold on a second. Like I feel like she like grabbed her daughter or something. Like who the fuck was that girl? Right? Like it's crazy. Yeah, no, it's disgusting what was going on there.
Man. And
that's
I was just thankful anybody didn't take out their clothes and they didn't play into that scene. So I
No.
probably would have looked away, man. I honestly, even though they probably would have had to been of age anyways, but yeah.
But let's not forget what happened on House of the Dragon. I mean, she went to a whorehouse with her uncle and had sex with them, right? Even though I know she wanted that, but that was
incest. We know is okay, right?
If there's anything Game of Thrones has taught us,
incest is okay, but still, man, like that's for children. No, that's just
So yeah, I'm sure. Like, obviously, Kyle, I'm sure you didn't appreciate this scene either. Probably made you a little, yeah.
Yeah, that's another one of those scenes that's up there, where it's just like
despicable stuff going on. Yeah.
Later, watching here again.
Later, Arya returns to the House of Black and White empty-handed, having abandoned her first mission for the Faceless Men. When Jaqen H'ghar asks what happened, she lies to him and says that the Thin Man simply wasn't hungry today and didn't order any of her oysters. And then he says perhaps that's why he's the Thin Man. And Arya promised that she will follow through on the assassination tomorrow. She leaves, and he seems kind of suspect that she was lying in this moment, kind of just like based on his reaction. Later in the courtyard, Arya brings Ellaria and the Sand Snakes before Prince Doran in his wheelchair. Doran gives Ellaria an ultimatum. She can either choose to swear allegiance to him and that she will not try something like this again, or that she can choose death. Restraining tears, she kneels and kisses his hand. He says that he believes in second chances and she is forgiven, but sternly warns her that he does not believe in third chances. So there you go. He gives her a final fucking warning.
Yeah.
Ellaria then finds Jaime in a study, writing a letter back to King's Landing, informing of his return. He writes very poorly, given that he is using his non-dominant left hand, and Ellaria remarks that he writes like a 7-year-old. Ellaria notes how odd it is that she and Oberyn were looked down on for their sexuality in King's Landing, and Jaime is scorned for his incestuous love for Cersei, to which he remains silent and gives no acknowledgement. She says, though 100 years ago, if his name were Targaryen, no one would have blinked an eye. There you go. Just for kind of following up on what we know of House of the Dragon now. Cryptically, perhaps spurred by Doran, she then says that she knows your daughter, Myrcella, had no part in what befell Oberyn, and maybe Jaime is innocent of that. And indeed he is, as Oberyn volunteered for trial by combat. She exits, and Jaime is left to ponder what seems to be her apology. Weird moment. Right. I mean, like she kind of seemed still on the defense, even though she was technically apologizing for trying to kill his fucking daughter. Right. But like I still wouldn't have trusted this woman after that conversation. Right. No.
Well, I mean, I don't know how much I still trust her anyways going forward. Right.
So here, just in the sake of time here, because we got a bit more to cover. Just jump in, guys, if there is something you want to mention here at the end of these scenes. Some of these. Sometime after Davos leaves, Stannis himself visits Shireen, visibly shaken but trying to speak to her kindly. He asks about her reading, and she explains that the Dance of the Dragons was a great civil war between Rhaenyra Targaryen and her half-brother Aegon, which, of course, again, we're seeing now in House of the Dragon, right? Each of whom thought they deserved to sit on the Iron Throne. The great lords of the Seven Kingdoms each declared for one or the other, dividing the realm in half and tearing Westeros apart. Brother fought brother, and dragon fought dragon in the devastating war. It was a disaster for House Targaryen as well, who never truly recovered, which, again, we haven't really gotten to all these events as of yet in the show, but this is kind of illustrating what happens and why they're not, I guess, still in a position of power like today, right? Like in Game of Thrones period, right? Like, I guess you could say, right, Kyle?
They seem to dance around it. Oh yeah, they seem to dance around it. No.
Yeah, I mean, they're letting you know. I mean, this is why they just kind of kept beefing with one another. And if you go by what was left off at the end of season 1 of House of the Dragon, it is kind of looking like that is going to be the where they're headed, right? It was a disaster for House Targaryen as well, who never truly recovers. Stannis asks who she would have chosen, Rhaenyra or Aegon, and she says she wouldn't have chosen either. It was all of the choosing sides that plunged Westeros into civil war. Stannis responds that sometimes the world forces a man to choose, even if he doesn't want to. But if he stays true to himself, he knows what he must do. And it isn't really a choice at all, even if he hates doing it. Shireen says it's all right and she wants to help him, though he responds that she doesn't even know what he wants. She doesn't care and asks if there's any way she can help. And he says that there is. Shireen insists that she wants to because she is Princess Shireen of House Baratheon, his daughter. They hug and he embraces her tightly and whispers, "Forgive me." Like,
You're a cocksucker. Sorry.
This just kind of drove the knife, like this just kind of twisted the knife like one final time, where it's just like they literally are setting up what's about to happen by like, "Forgive me. I want to help you." Like, she doesn't know fucking what's about to happen. It's terrible. It's fucking terrible, man. Like, yeah.
I don't know how they did that to her. And they did that to us. Never mind her. They did that to us, bro. Okay.
To the viewers, yeah, absolutely, yeah. But yeah, we did talk about it at length at the start of this episode, so we'll move along. We all thought this is fucked up, but yeah. Later, Shireen exits her tent as well and sees all of the soldiers gathered around and asks where her father is. Coming to the front of the assembly, she sees Melisandre in front of a wooden pyre with a large stake in the middle. She starts shouting to see her father, but is grabbed by soldiers who dragged her to the pyre and tie her to the stake. Melisandre soothingly tries to calm her by saying that it'll all be over soon. Shireen's cry rings out over the camp, but no one intervenes. Stannis and Shireen's mother, Selyse, then appear in the crowd. Shireen sees them and begs her mother and father to help, which just makes this scene even more fucking brutal, but they do nothing. Selyse insists aloud to herself that the sacrifice is what the Lord of Light wants. Yeah.
This
brutal.
is fuck. They like burning people in this show, eh? That's another thing I've noticed. Like, regardless if it's they're alive or they're dead.
Burn them at the stake. That's the old school way. Like witches, all kinds of shit.
Dragons, fucking everything, man. Like, come on.
Yeah. People like to see that shit, apparently. But yeah, any other
That's why they
comments?
call it of ice and fire, eh? Maybe that's why the whole books are called that and shit. You know, I never thought of that.
Any more comments on the scene, though, guys? Anything?
Sad?
Yeah.
Yeah. Just that Stannis is a piece of shit.
Yeah, and he plays it so smoothly too. Like he is a piece of shit, but he kind of plays it like, there's no real character arc in his bit. Like his it's just like kind of like streamlined.
You almost wish characters like this get what they want, because when they do, they're gonna feel empty anyway.
Yeah.
But the fact that
he's already too far gone at this point in time. Like, so to the point where like no matter what he ends up getting or how far he gets here at this point, like to your point, yeah, he won't appreciate anything past this point because of what he had to do, what he had to sacrifice to get to this point, right? I think you can say similar things about what happened in like Breaking Bad, even like another show where the guy went too far and is kind of like, you know what I mean? Like he just got blinded by. He got wrapped up. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So like this guy, obviously his eyes for the throne. He was been led blindly by this Melisandre this whole fucking time in terms of like promising him that he'll be on the throne, right? So I don't know. We'll see how that all plays out. I mean, more on this next episode, and but yeah, fuck, pretty crazy.
Yeah, and they kind of led up to that too, kind of in the last episode where they said that there had to be a bloodline of his or somebody of his blood. Remember? And I'm thinking the only one is the daughter.
Right. A couple of episodes ago, I even fucking said like there were some great Stannis scenes, like with his daughter, the speech with Jon Snow, like they seemed on good terms. He should technically be the king. Like I'm not in disagreement to a lot of this, but just the way that he's gone about it has been the worst fucking way you can go about it, right? Like, and like his people are suffering as a result of it, right? Then you got Davos, who like, again, has not really meant much war experience, but is just a good and wise man that he decided to stick by him for whatever fucking reason, because he respects him, right? And then you get glimpses of maybe why he respects this guy along the way, but at this point, he's again, too far gone. Like, this is like, who the fuck is this guy? Like, you hate it.
I'm wondering if Davos is just trying to somewhere down the line save himself too, because he kind of knows that like if he goes on this, maybe he can talk to somebody on the way and say the fucking Stannis is losing his shit, like I don't know I don't know where the storyline is gonna end off or whatever. So this is pretty twisty. This one is like kind of like keeping you guessing, right? Every episode.
Yeah, well, I feel like earlier this season you thought he had a shot. Fucking into this episode, you're like, yeah, I don't know, unless some witch magic shit happens here. Like, if you guys what, right? So Melisandre begins praying and announces that they offer up the life of this girl to the Lord of Light and sets it on fire. As she explained to Stannis before, she believes that sacrificing her life, which contains the power of a king's blood, will gain the Lord of Light's favor, who in return will aid them in their time of need by lifting the blizzard. Stannis believes that if they do nothing, they will remain snowbound and all starve to death. Shireen continues to repeatedly cry, and eventually Selyse, who only had a cold and non-existent relationship with her daughter, suddenly breaks and rushes forward, begging that they can't go through with it. The soldiers restrain her. However, she sinks to the ground crying in despair. Shireen's cries become even more frightened, but Stannis continues to watch as she sobs on the ground. As the flames begin to consume Shireen, she wordlessly screams in pain and fear, and eventually even Stannis cannot bear to look as she burns to death. Dark fucking.
You should fucking keep looking, cock. Like, sorry. I mean,
yeah, don't worry. Attended by Tyrion Lannister, Missandei, and Daario Naharis, Daenerys sits in the royal box at the Daznak's pit as we enter the last sequence of events of this episode here.
Kyle's favorite.
Yeah, his daughter Zolorak arrives late, claiming to have been putting the final touches on the arrangements for the event. When the first two combatants take the field, he indicates that Daenerys is to start the fight with a clap of her hands. Daario verbally spars with Hizdahr for much of the first match, drawing Daenerys' attention from the spectacle in front of her. Her attention returns to the arena when Jorah Mormont gives the traditional dedication to her. In spite of Jorah's previous successes, he has decidedly mixed results in the grand melee he finds himself in. It begins with 6 fighters, with Jorah pairing up against a Norvosi long axe fighter. The Norvosi is able to land several blows against Jorah, eventually knocking him to the ground. However, Jorah is able to bring out his dagger and eventually bury it in the Nervosi's chest after a brief melee. This last half of the season has had some fantastic Jorah moments between the shit with the fucking what do you call it, the Stone Men, and this, like him fighting in the pits. You get some great Jorah stuff. Where are you at with Jorah, Kyle? Have we asked you before? What do you like this character?
I like Jorah.
Yeah,
he's always been a good character in my eyes. Yeah, I love his arc that he's on right now. You know, like
yeah, no, some great stuff. And I mean,
he's kind of the one that sat in the background, like on the side, really for most of the time after with Khaleesi and stuff. He didn't say, you know, he tried, and then after he disappeared for, like, not disappeared, but we didn't see a few episodes with him in it, and it was like, what's going on, and we ended up figuring it out. And ever since he's on that boat with Tyrion, he's just that character's just been moving away its way. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I just never ceases to amaze me all the shit that some of these characters are put through on this show. Like, again, like this guy's journey. He's been exiled twice now. Now he's fighting for his life in a fighting pit to get basically back in her good graces, right? So I mean, like, and he's fighting grayscale unbeknownst to anybody else, right? So it's pretty, again, like, just the struggle. Like, for everybody, I feel that gets taken out on this show in some brutal fucking way, to see that there are some characters that, at least at this point, time and time again, have fucking overcome so many things that have happened to them and just kind of keep moving forward. Like, it is interesting. You root for these people, right, in the midst of all this shit. Like, Jorah is a great character for that, especially, like I said, this second part of his arc, story arc, past him just being the advisor to the Khaleesi there, is very interesting, all this stuff. I think this is the best Jorah stuff we've seen in the show, honestly, this season, this season 5. Yeah, great stuff. And I like this part too, when Daario was kind of throwing it in his face. He's like, yeah, in my estimation, the small guy is gonna fucking win this fight, right? And then you see the big dude cut that guy's head off. And then the other guy, like, you know, has like a shit-eating grin on his face because, like, obviously, you know, Daenerys is siding with him because they're banging, and she's just like, well, have you ever been in a fight? Like, I think this guy would know more than you would, right? Like, and then Daario is just like, fuck, when he sees that guy get his head right? Because he's like rubbing it this whole time. He's like, yeah, that's right, I'm banging her. Like, what are you gonna do about it? Because even though it's like, that's the fake marriage of politics, right? Like, they're just getting married just to kind of appease everybody, right? So yeah, good stuff. Meanwhile, a Braavosi water dancer easily dispatches his Dothraki opponent, then focuses attention on Jorah. He finds himself hopelessly outmatched by the water dancer and suffers many cuts from his opponent. Yeah, water dancing. There you go. That's the type of fighting style that Arya was getting trained in, as previously mentioned, right? That the guy that got killed, he was a water dancer.
Yeah.
During the fight,
maybe she should train for something else then.
during the fight, well, I mean, that guy was dead. Like that's the guy that Ned find to train her earlier on, right? During the fight, a Muranese pit fighter is able to lance his opponent in the chest. The water dancer eventually knocks Jorah to the ground and is about to deliver a killing blow, but fails to notice the pit fighter who kills him from behind. Jorah then battles the pit fighter, kills him, and is the last fighter standing. Jay, did you think Jorah was going to die in this scene or what? Were you worried about him? No, hey, not for a moment.
No, bro. He's going to die from grayscale or some shit like that now that he's got it. I go, this guy's a fucking known fighter. I heard, you know, you hear it throughout. He's got a history.
Yeah.
Well,
he was
his family
previously, right? I mean, that whole thing about him fighting in the pits, I think they were kind of making a big deal of that because like that was when Tyrion was trying to lie to the slave trader in order to get kind of like brought over here. But you're right, he can fucking hold his own, right? Like absolutely.
Well, I'm pretty sure he's always been at least I don't know about a knight, but at least somebody who's been fighting throughout the time that he's been around. Like he's always had the sword with him, right? So
what was he, Kyle? Like other than a slave trader previously, wasn't he in some sort of position of power at some point? And then he got Ned.
Yeah. Well, his dad's the
Mormont, right?
Lord Commander of the Night Watch.
Yeah.
And he was the Lord of Bear Island until
his dad.
Jorah was Lord of Bear Island until Ned Stark was selling those slaves.
Yeah.
And then he fled so that they couldn't behead him or.
Oh, so he was a lord previously. Okay.
Yeah. He was in charge of his house until
he got in trouble for slave collecting.
Yeah, Ned basically banished him essentially, like he ran away essentially, right? Yeah, that's why he ended up in with Daenerys, right? So okay,
like he had Jon Snow's sword, Longclaw.
Oh shit, I didn't realize
that was his sword, and then his dad was like the decent thing he did before he fled was leave the house sword, and then he had the pommel like the bear head changed to a wolf head for Jon Snow.
Yeah, I think I remember Pat. Wasn't he giving it to him, or wasn't he leaving it there when he left, or whatever, in one of the episodes, or no? They didn't mention that.
Well, I don't think Jorah or Jon, if that's what you're referring to, have actually had any FaceTime with each other yet in this series, right?
No, but somebody else at the Night Watch who Jon has his sword. You mean?
Yeah.
The one that kills the White Walkers.
Yes, they just killed the White Walkers last episode. We found out they can kill it because it's Valyrian steel. And right now in the show, as you know, Jay, there's only a few Valyrian steel swords that are known in existence. It's very rare, right? So
and that nice shine to it.
Jorah stares for a few moments at Daenerys, then suddenly grabs and hurls a spear at the royal box, embedding itself in the son of the Harpy sneaking up behind Daario. The sons of the Harpy reveal themselves on every level of the arena and begin slaughtering masters and freedmen alike, Hizdahr included. Jorah and Daario execute Daenerys from the royal box, while Tyrion rescues Missandei. Finding the exits blocked, the group makes a stand in the center of the pit with remainder of the Unsullied defenders, seeing they are hopelessly outnumbered. Daenerys takes Missandei's hand and closes her eyes, ready to face her death. So a couple of notes I had for this. One, I don't know how the fuck these guys, even Daario, like fucking caught slipping that fucking bad. You don't realize there's like 50 fucking guys like sneaking behind you, first of all. And two, sick fucking move on Jorah's part, I gotta say. But like, you know, like, yeah, like I'm surprised that they caught the drop on them so bad in this scene, quite honestly. Like no one noticed. And I also like how they dispatched with the whole husband thing, like in this scene, right? Like they're just like, yeah, that's enough of this guy. They just slit his throat, right? Like, yeah, because you know, and you know, again, I love whenever Tyrion rises to the occasion and holds his own. Like he saves Missandei in this scene, right? Which is pretty great on his part. Jay, again, were you surprised at all by this event? Like, did you think that he was going to throw the spear at someone in the stands, like with Daenerys, or you're not fooled by that?
I wasn't sure. Like, I didn't know what the fuck was going on there. And then all of a sudden, these guys start popping out everywhere, like left and right. And I'm thinking, these guys, oh, what the hell? This scene's getting crazy. Now it's starting to get intense because I don't know why everybody had just flipped out why the Harpy was just decided, this is what's going to happen. Was it because she
Well, they've
let
been at war with
Jorah
Tom.
back? Yeah, but also, Jorah's back too. And after she had got rid of him, and they're just kind of sort of retaliating.
No, I don't think it has anything to do with him.
But they were really trying to kill everybody, man. And the fucking how they snuck a few in every they put their gold masks in their fucking in underneath their jackets to get into the place or what?
Yeah, like these guys are like fucking ninjas of Game of Thrones because the way they sneak up on them. No, really, like the way they sneak up on them and like in every situation is pretty fucking crazy. Like how I don't know how slick these guys are. Apparently, very fucking slick because like again, they're just like creeping in the background behind. They're like zombies in Walking Dead or fucking ninjas in like feudal Japan or something. It's just weird. It's just like I don't understand, how they're so slick like this, right? It's interesting to me, but I think it makes good for a good moment, right? Like Kyle, do you remember how you felt the first time you seen this? Like, was this a very shocking moment to you?
Well, even watching it today, man, like when they're in the pit, I'm just like, yo, how the hell do you drop the ball this bad? Like,
right?
Like, how do you only have a handful of Unsullied in here? You got all these thousands of random ass people. You never thought that, somebody might try and take out the fucking queen, even though they've been fighting the Sons of the Harpies for like 2 seasons now.
Yeah.
And
I know it's true.
I'm just like, well, especially for Dario, because I like him, and I'm like, he's one that's be cunning too, and doesn't let people pull the wool over his eyes very often. And then they're just like,
I know that's the thing. Even he's getting one up though because he's been on top of things for the most part. But then like shit like this goes down, and I'm just like, I don't know. Like, and even like when they're planning their escape, like to run away here, like Jorah like came to her like aid. And then he's just got in the way. He's like, no, follow me. Like, you know what I mean? Like, guys are like basically still like against one another because they're both in love with her. But like, you got to be better than that, Dario. If you're gonna fucking like, you know what I mean? Like, all of a sudden now you're rising to the occasion. Like, I got this. Like, you fucked up, bud. Like, there's like 30 people. If it wasn't for Jorah, you guys would have been dead, right? Like,
when he first threw that pole, I was like, oh man,
that was sick.
You fucking Daenerys is over now, Jorah's had his last word,
Yeah, that was crazy though. How you fucking just picked it up and like whipped it, like and fucking struck the guy like right. He's about to like get behind them. That was nuts. Yeah, I remember that was a pretty sick scene. I mean, I still think it was a pretty awesome scene, honestly. The setup of it.
I just love how he always looks out for Daenerys. Even when she's pissed off at him, he's just always
a boner for her, or like Tyrion said,
I got your back even when you don't want me to.
Yeah. He's like, it's funny too. Even when he got exiled that second time, she's like, "Sorry, you're gonna have to go." Or Tyrion, whatever, tells her, "Yeah, I don't know if you could trust him anymore, right?" And she's like, "All right, no, you're exiled again." He's like, "What, Khaleesi? Come on!" Like,
what was the guy gonna do around here?
Yeah, no, that's funny, man. So, anyways, at that
moment, came into head too with this thing about the Harpy guys. Like this is the reason why they started bag checks at big fucking arena shows. Because there you go. Back then, like really, you could sneak in a hole. Sorry, I had to throw that.
We got some questions for you, Mr. Harpy at the gate. What are you planning on doing with this?
Yeah, sorry, no swords allowed. You're gonna have to give all your daggers, your masks. Sorry.
Oh fuck.
At that moment, a draconic screech pierces the air and Drogon descends upon the arena, flying out of a giant flame burst. Many of the suns scatter in terror as Drogon bites, crushes, and mercilessly burns the nearest ones to death. The suns rally enough to attack Drogon with spears, embedding them in the dragon's tough hide. Daenerys hastily makes an effort to remove the spears, prompting Drogon to turn on her with a huge roar. He stops short of attacking her and becomes calm. Trying to get Drogon out of the sun's range, Daenerys climbs atop his back and bids him to fly, saying Valad, I guess is the word for, I guess.
I don't know.
Becoming the first Targaryen dragon rider, to Kyle's point, in over a century. The Sons of the Harpy routed for now. Dario, Jorah, Missandei, and Tyrion look on in astonishment as the Drogon soars away. So, Kyle, any thoughts again on this? Because, like you said, this is the main reason why you picked this scene. Is it still really good to you? Yeah.
And like just hearing like Drogon's like screech, because that becomes a thing. Mm-hmm. Just hearing that, you're just like, what? And then him flying in and burning everything, and Like, it's just, I don't know. I love me a good Drogon fucking shit up, saving the day moment. And this was just like the start of his arc, too, you know, where he finally shows up and he's not a piece of shit that's eating goats or fucking girls or, you know, this is finally where he's coming around. They're like, I knew having you around was fucking going to pay off at some point.
I have a question actually about this scene. Did her distress like telepathically send like a fucking message to him or something? Because
they're supposed to have like a link where she can call him whenever she's like in trouble.
Yes, because that's kind of
this is like.
It looked like she was like looking inside of herself, like she's like this, and then like all of a sudden when they looked up, like he kind of appeared, right? Like all of a sudden, like that kind of saved the day after they had gotten surrounded. So like he could sense she was in danger, and he kind of came to the rescue as a result of that, right?
Yeah, I believe so.
I don't feel like they've discussed it though. It's one of those things. Like I think it's like you just gotta like read the situation a little bit.
Yeah,
that's what
you know what it was.
You'll see in like future episodes, right? Whenever those two are together, they just kind of have that, like, you know.
Yeah,
I'm gonna rewind it back.
Just like,
what's that, Jay?
I gotta rewind it back to when she's first carrying the eggs into the fire, right? And see where that one is placed, where Dragon is placed, if it's under the arms or she's holding it up here closer in between her breasts, you know. So maybe he's closer to the heart. You know what I mean? But maybe she is. Maybe that's the one that she could communicate with. But I thought they could communicate with them all.
Well, but like Kyle's saying, like they have probably the best connection out of all the dragons at this point, despite all the shit that they've been kind of had to deal with. Like, you know what I mean? He was kind of acting out, you know, like most teenagers do. And like, you know, I think it's one of those things where they were not seeing on eye to eye here for this entire season, because that's why he fucked off, because of the way she treated him in response to him fucking doing bullshit, right? And I think because, you know, I think like Kyle like alluded to there, like that's her main man now, like that dragon, right? Like that's the dragon, like that for her. And again, it's the first one to let her ride on the back of, which we take for granted in fucking House of the Dragons. By the end of that fucking first season, everyone's fucking flying around in dragons.
As I said, I've seen people fly on dragons before. I don't know, man. This is not my first time. Now,
back in the day, this was the first moment in the show. Right.
So that's why I did something on you a bit, Jay. I think you've been spoiled by House of the Dragons for this moment, because like Kyle said, the moment this did happen, it was a big fucking, that's the way they kind of played it up, like even with the characters at the end, like they're amazed. You know, but then you're like you said, it's like they killed that by House of the Dragons, where you got the whole fucking show they're riding around on dragons, because it was just second nature at that point in time. This has not happened since those times, right? This is why it's such a big fucking deal. You know, it's not like she's had other family members around to help her train them as well, right? Like those people did on that show. They had actual trainers on that show, if you recall. Like people,
if anything, they're just learning like from books to themselves, right? Like from the history.
Have you not seen How to Train a Dragon, Jay? Like, come on, man. Like,
I did watch Neverending Story. Come on, dude.
You did. We did. Yeah, we talked about it late night at the episode out, guys.
Not the first dragon I ever seen.
Yeah. But yeah, that thus concludes the episode. It's a really good one, I thought. Some really great moments. I think like we mentioned, other than this dragon part here at the end, for it being such a big moment at the time, I do think the Shireen, as horrible as that thing, that what happened is a very important moment, I think, in the grand scheme of things, at least for Stannis and what happens moving forward. And you know, like
we're at that point now, you know, where they got to shake the deck again, you know, because like we had Joffrey being the antagonist for a while, and then, you know, Ramsay still has to show what
me and him are
he's
going for
fully capable of.
Me and him are going for a coffee later.
I loves him. Where do you
why
on Ramsay? Are you a fan of the character, despite like how like he's a good character, but he's also a piece of shit type character? You know what I mean? Like, but he's good at his, you know, making you hate him. Like, do you like the character? Where do you stand?
You know, when they set him up, because like he was made to be like the next Joffrey, you know, and like I fucking hated that kid. Like I fucking hated him from episode 1 all the way up to whenever the fuck he died in season 4. You know, like. He was just a cunt.
Yeah.
No matter, like, pardon my French, but like he was just a little pompous dickhead whenever the fuck he was on screen. And then when you meet Ramsay at first, you're just like, oh, you know, he's helping Theon, what you hate at the time, given what he just did. then you grow to kind of like Theon because Ramsay's fucking torturing him and chopping off his dick, and you know, and you're just like, wow, like, you know, I can't wait to see him at the height of, you know, right before he crumbles, how much of a piece of shit he's gonna become. And like this season, he raped Sansa already, you know, so like that's just the tip of the iceberg for how crazy he's about to fucking go off and be.
Well, there you go, Jay. You got more to look forward to. And
think
honestly,
about it.
he said the same thing last episode or whatever when we talked about it. He said the same thing. I agree with you in the sense, at least he's a way more interesting character to hate on than Joffrey was, where he was just really one note and a whiny brat. You're right. Yeah. He is a threat, this guy. This guy is a fucking threat. Like, he's done a lot of fucking terrible things, but yeah, he's like, look what he did, Jay. Like you mentioned, the fucking 20 men and doing this every time he steps up to the occasion. This guy's been pulling off some crazy shit so far, right? Like he's sadistic, like absolutely.
Well,
like, go ahead. Yeah, that's
the thing that I think too, the different, like, I mean, okay, when Joffrey just felt like that white privileged fucking kid, you know, like Ramsay, okay, yeah, he's a white kid too, but he was a bastard and he had to do
to fight for everything he has come to him at this point. Yeah,
so
he's kind of like an evil Jon Snow, you know. You're like you're
but his, you know, you don't look like you can get typecast.
Yeah,
you don't look like with Ramsay. I would think you can get better roles from this character because you're playing it so good. Poor Joffrey didn't work at all after. I mean, he probably didn't have to, but I mean, you know.
Actually, I read he quit. He quit acting.
Yeah, that's what Nico was saying.
So hated on for a while.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, he's probably got the money.
Well, sometimes you get typecasted as a result of this kind of stuff, and then to your point, to what you just said, that was the case. Like I think it became difficult for him, I think, to get roles as a result of this because he was played such a despicable character on this show, right?
Well,
such
you want to be the good guy. They're like, what? No, you got to be a piece of shit, man.
No, but he did a good job of it. Don't being that piece of shit. Like he made it believable more than probably quite. I mean, it seems like those assholes on this show seem to make it more believable than the regular people. But I also wanted to pose another question to you guys. So they call it Dance of the Dragons, right? Okay, and this is a serious one. She read it in the book that she was reading, Shireen. She was reading about the Targaryens. You think in House of Dragons we're gonna see some sort of show like that where they show what they meant by Dance of the Dragon? You think like for a wedding or something ceremony or for something like that, or like or like a dog like show or something, you know, and they get the dragon to come in and dance, you know, or do something not like dance like ridiculously stupid, like I mean, but like a pet would do, you know?
You're taking it too literal. I don't think that's what you meant at all. But yeah, would that be?
I'm just thinking in my head, it'd be cool.
Music if they came in and danced around, sure. I don't think it's gonna happen.
I don't mean like salsa dancing with each other. I mean doing some sort of prancing that they do, like what a dragon would sort of do, like a horse or something. You know what I mean? Like a horse show.
Yeah, if we're gonna get it, they're gonna get it on that show because they're definitely more domesticated in that show than they are at this point. Right, absolutely. But I don't think that's gonna happen.
I don't think that one's gonna come to fruition.
I mean, we never know with this show, right?
Very true. I think that'll be like jumping the shark territory for that show. If dragons come in and start dancing around, I'm going to question me continuing to watch it. I don't know what's going on here, guys.
No, just because she said it in the book that she was reading, right? And I know it was maybe a little bit of a fiction book and not so true. You know what I mean?
No, you're taking it too literally. Like they're just, that's what I'm trying to say. She wasn't ever talking about dragons actually dancing around. She's talking about they're talking about the battle between those two family members, the dance of the dragons, like the back and forth. That's what they're talking about. You're literally staking it from the stance of the dragons.
That's what I mean. Maybe like two salsa guys, maybe like two dragons. They dance off against each other. Who knows, man? That's how they do it.
Sure know how to end a show, Jay, with that great question. Thank you for that.
I thought about that the whole show.
Oh God. Well, Kyle, thank you so much. That being said, for coming on the show, Kyle. This is a lot of fun. And yeah, do let me know. I don't even know what's been called or what hasn't at this point, but if there's another episode you want to join us on, definitely let me know, man. You're always welcome back. We do have I mean, if you look at it in terms of the last two seasons being 7 and 6 episodes, Although I know you're not a huge fan, I feel like in terms of those seasons when it comes around to that.
I'll come back for one of those of those episodes.
Yeah. And then we do have the great season 6 coming up as well. So yeah, so let me know. And we do have plans to talk into the leading up to the new release of House of the Dragons, the new season 2.
Do you know when that is airing?
What's that?
You know when that's airing?
So they said summer 2024, and like you pointed out actually on your, I think, last appearance, production had not stopped because of the fact that they were filming in Europe, right? So throughout the strike, I think they've still been kind of filming it. So if everything is still on track, they haven't given an official date, so it might change. But they had originally said summer of 2024. So I think what we're planning on doing is, once we're done doing these, we're going to take a break, and then leading up to the date of the new season, we're going to be watching the first season and then reporting back live after the airing of every episode.
That's fun.
Yeah, that's going to be a lot of fun because that's going to be very different for all of us because this will be the first time we ever have watched this material. So it's going to be really interesting. So we look forward to doing that. So yeah, come back. You're always welcome to join us for any of that. And yeah, always a good time, man. Thank you for joining us once again. This was good. But
always.
Go ahead.
Hey, what do you think? Hey, those new ones with the new ones coming out that just live after? We should do like one of those couch things where we watch it live and then we sit back there beside each other, me and you, right? Or sit beside each other. What did you think of that one, man?
Yeah,
we just watched an hour of it and we just talk about it right there. Take notes as we're watching it.
We'll talk. We'll have to figure that one out. But yeah, even if we were to go on like right after it airs, though, I'd be down for something like that too, right?
Or even reaction videos, those.
Yeah, something like along those lines. We'll talk though. We'll figure it out. But that'll be very interesting, just because it's not, whatever 10 years old or whatever this new stuff we're talking around, right? So yeah. But this has been a lot of fun for sure. So yeah, guys, make sure you tune in for the next episode though. Next week's episode is Leslie, who will be joining us for the season finale. And yeah, it's quite a doozy of an episode. Another really great episode. A lot of shit happens in that one, so stay tuned for that. Be interesting to get her opinion on all that. This is the one episode she requested right from the start. So
that is a good episode.
Yeah, it is a good episode. So yeah, make sure to check that out, guys. That'll be next week after this episode airs. And that'll be the finale with Leslie. Yeah. So, and the show does continue to air every Thursday at 8 p.m., guys. It airs live. You can always go back and rewatch it after the fact if you missed the live premiere of it. And check out our playlist. And we're just chugging along here. 50 fucking episodes here of the show so far. So, yeah, it's been a lot of fun. So, make sure you like it. All right, guys. Let's put on the outro music here, shall we? If I can find a chord. Jay, any final thoughts? Any other things you want to pose to us about Dancing Dragons or otherwise?
I don't know. Well, like I said, we'll see what happens in House of Dragons. Maybe it comes to fruition and
if
I used the word properly.
If the dragons start fucking dancing on that show, I'll be the first one to fucking apologize to you. I'm here for it, but I'm also gonna have to question.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying. I'm not saying like like pussy footing around. I'm saying like they can use their flames as a fucking.
No, I know what you mean.
Yeah, kill people. Like.
All right, fucking guy. All right,
interesting.
Later, guys.
All right, guys.
No problem.